Read this. Work of fiction. People. Dangerous. Don't recreate. Disturbing.
Sweet Pooh.
That's kind of loud. Okay, so Sweet Pool. Don't know what the hell this game is. So let me tell you what I do know. I do know that it's. Why am I talking like this? I do know that it is a visual novel. I do know that it had tags for gore. I do know that I want to be shocked and surprised. And I do know that I found this game from a Neo City website that just had a video of it, and I'm like, ooh, I love this grungy anime, like 2000s art style. You know, the thing you can only get by doing something on the internet. So Steam Summer Sale comes around. It was cheap. It was on my wish list. I bought it, and I tried to avoid all the pictures that I could. But I mean, am I in for a wild ride? I don't know. I literally have zero clue about this game. Okay, well, yes, let's get into it. By pressing exit. So let's see, to your hands they are delivered. Every morning I live, it shall be meat for you, even as green herb I have given you all things. What is this? It's like a scribble, but then it's like different letters. But flesh with life, therefore, is of blood thereof shall ye not eat. So don't do cannibalism? Whoso sheddeth man's body, by man shall set his blood shed. For in the image God made of me man. And you be ye fruitful, and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. Thank you. I feel like I sounded like a preacher. Oh my god, blood! Blood! Whose blood is that? Oh, I have to click? No. Don't do that. Huh. Hello? Hello? How do I get out of this? Okay, right click. I saved? How am I supposed to know what these controls are? Hello? I'm being so annoying. Does this game not work on modern systems? Did I do something? What is going on? Okay. Do I want the aesthetic old film grainy vibes, or the dun 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 dun, like I'm in the Killer's Tear Radius and Dead by Daylight? Dead by Daylight sucks right now. We're going old film grainy. Blue blood. I choose. These look like claw marks. I choose double clicking. Wait, I'm not seeing any of this. Bodies intertwine, sharing blood and breath, joining until they are one flesh, indistinguishable. Fingers laced together, seeking dark venous lumps. This OST is crazy. Sunrise and sunset, dawn and dusk, a choice arrives. Hold to reason or surrender to instinct. I reasoned. Instinct struggles, but reason holds. The beast is bound with chains of ice, and thus... I play this with all my lights off. Is this a spooky, scary game? Also, I swear to God, I'm not even monetized because I have like now 4 subscribers after my rant got like 1,000 views. But I'm still not monetized, obviously. But what if this video goes viral and then I want to make money off of this video and I get copyright because of all these amazing songs? I want to get up again, but I'm watching. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, but I did get myself a pillow and a blanket because we are gonna be settling in to this sweet pool. What is this game about? Ooh, is that Yoi? Is these gay people? I don't even know what yaoi is. I just heard that before too. I think I did read. Is this game broken? I'm not getting any of this text. Let me read if Sweet Pool is broken on modern hardware. No. Wait. What do I do? We're gonna have to quit. I'm gonna try playing at a lower resolution or windowed mode. Because I'm too deep. I'm too settled into the Sweet Pool to... Like, my tippy toes are rinsing themselves in the water of this Sweet Pool. I'm not getting out anytime soon. Okay, it's working, I think. Yes, okay. We already read all this. Let's just go back to where we were. Auto mode. Where are the controls? Skip this movie? Yes. It was a fine Tuesday in early May, a month after the start of the first semester.
Ohayo!
Good morning. Morning. 8 in the morning and not a cloud in the sky. Cheerful greetings carried on a cool breeze that rustled through the leafy trees, rewriting poetry to rhyme with every A and B rhyme scheme. Students passed through the gates with a spring in their step. The Golden Week holiday had done wonders to ease the anxiety of the new school year. Kominami Private Academy. Sorry, that's a lot of M's. Located in Tokyo's Sagami Ward, this Catholic missionary school was dedicated to proving an education centered on Christian values. The school's motto, seek the truth. The academy was small, with only 100 or so students in each of 3 grades. Still, it remained a vulnerable institution, with 6 decades of history going back to its founding. Even though these days most classes were held in the building that has been constructed just 5 years ago, the original schoolhouse and chapel had recently completed renovations and remained an important life at Kominami. Okay. I'm taking a picture of this. I love how you can just press random buttons and just things happen. I didn't even mean to do that. And then... Auto plays A. At a BFIT missionary school, religious studies were included in the curriculum, and once a week, students gathered in the chapel for Mass. Which was not to say that the students were all devout believers. For the most part, they were just like students in any other school. Jesus Christ. Sakiyama Yuji was one such a student. Yuji passed through the gates and entered the main building, pausing at his locker to change his shoes. A pristine white statue of the Virgin Mary stood guard at the left of the doors, watching over the students. After changing, Yuji headed up the stairs to the classroom marked 2A. The instant he slid open the door, the noise of the classroom crashed over him. For a moment, he hesitated to enter. He hadn't been to class in some time, and the room was bursting with talk and laughter. Did he have the right class? He looked up to double-check the number plate. Sure enough. This is like if I was writing something, and that's not a compliment. Forcing his stiff legs to cooperate, usually weave through the groups of students to his assigned seat. All around him, people were going about their morning routine. Some were chatting with their friends about what they'd done over the weekend. Others were fixing their makeup or copying each other's homework. Okay, wait. Hold on, what was the settings button? X. C. I want it to be a little bit faster. But this only served to make Yuji feel painfully out of place. There wasn't a single person here he considered a friend. In fact, he didn't even recognize most of them. This was largely because he had been held back a year. Now he stuck out like a sore thumb. Taking a seat at his desk, he went to hang with his book bag on the hook. But to his surprise, there was already a bag hanging there. Confused, he looked around the room. Something definitely fell off. As if to he lowered his eyes, feeling even more like an outsider. But just then, he felt a light tap on his shoulder, on his behind.
Yuji! Hello!
Morning, Yuji! He turned around and was met with a friendly smile inches from his face. It belonged to Mita Makoto.
久しぶり
Long time no see.
久しぶり
Yeah, for sure.
もう大丈夫なのか
You all better now?
そうだな
Yeah, I guess mostly.
そっかよかった
Cool, cool. Right on, dude. Oh my god, can I just make it so it like I want it to somehow make it so when I'm done reading it then it stops. Synchronize text speed with voice. Auto mode. Oh my god, auto. Okay, maybe that's gonna make it better. Makoto grinned wildly. He was holding an ice cream bar in one hand. This was the only classmate whom Yuji had something approaching a relationship. One day after school, Makoto had started talking to him. Okay, this might be a little too fast. With messy brown hair, a slender frame, and a winning smile, he had some. Okay, yeah.
久々の学校は
Sorry. How does it feel to be back in school?
なんていうか
I don't know.
少し
It feels
雰
kinda
囲気が変わった感じがす
different
るか
somehow.
そっか
Does it?
来てないとそう
Must be
感じ
because
る
it's
のか
been
な
a while.
よし
You were out
先
sick a
月は
lot
休み多かったもん
last
な
month, huh?
あ
Yeah. Fortunately, he was now healthy enough to return. Diagnosed with chronic lung disease at an early age, Yuji had always been somewhat sickly. Yeah. But being held back meant that he was now the oldest student in the room, and that made it hard for him to fit in. Yeah, super senior. Evidently, that didn't
それじ
deter
ゃあ変わ
Makoto.
ったって感じでも仕方
Well,
な
I
いよ
can't say
な
I blame you. I mean, they
席替えも
changed the
したし
seating arrangement. And, wait. Oh, right. That's it.
それだよ
Yeah, there was a
そうそう
seating change
連休が
right
始まる前にさ
before the
席替えしたんだよ
break. Makoto's face lit up as he remembered. A seating change. Now it all made sense! Although he didn't have known, he still felt bad for someone sitting.
幼児の席
Oh, my, it's like too
は
fast. If I have to change this one more time just because it's like somewhat off. Oh my god, and now I save. I need it to be like. Okay. Well, I don't even know. Let's do this. No more stopping. Your seat is. Makoto turned and walked toward the back of the classroom. Then he stopped and rapped on one of the desks.
ここね
Right here! Yoji immediately grabbed his book bag and moved to the indicated seat. Pulling out of the chair, he sat up and looked at Makoto.
また食べてるんだな
I see you're stuffing your face again. Oh,
Huh?
wow.
それ
Excuse me. That. Yoshi pointed at the ice cream bar, and Makoto shrugged sheepishly.
あ
Oh, this is just a force of
Shukan
habit. Like
Asa
brushing your
okute
teeth in the
handigaku moto
morning.
ishido
You know,
sa.
I gotta have one of
Kore
these
tabenai
or
to
throws off
nanka
my
ichinichi
groove for the
choushi denai
whole
na.
day. I forget.
Ayuji wa
Do you like ice cream? This is like my family, you
特
know.
別好きってことはないか
Not particularly.
なつかさちゃんと
Bro,
飯
do you
食ってん
even
の
eat at all? Makoto leaned forward with a frown, putting his hand on Yuichi's desk.
まあそれなりに
Sure, I eat.
本当かよ
Really? I worry about you, dude. It feels like someone's gotta look after
なん
you,
かほっ
or
とくと
you'll
危ない
be
気がするんだよな
keel over. Last time I saw
前
you,
も
you
昼とかあん
barely
まり
ate
食わな
your
かったし
lunch,
な
remember?
これから
Eh.
暑くなるんだししっ
Eh.
かり食わないとって
Okay, we're not doing the synchronized text speed with voice. Like, I'm sorry.
お
Only gotten hotter, so you need to eat up or else. Ugh! He cut off with a surprised yelp. A drop of melting vanilla ice cream had leaked out from under the bar's chocolate coating to form a little white puddle on Yuji's desk. Yuji.
悪い
Sorry! Makoto hastily wiped up the spillage with the hem of his shirt. Ew,
別
gross.
にいいけど
It's okay. They're kind of a mess, huh?
よく物をこぼすよな
Makoto hung his head in shame. Admittedly, Yuji hadn't been at school much this semester, but he seemed to recall Makoto spilling a deserted drink every time he came over to
注
chat.
意ってや
I'll be
つ
more careful next
気
time.
をつけるよ
I promise.
で
Just
も
make sure you eat
とに
like
かく飯はちゃんと
actual
食え
food.
よ
Okay. He looked away awkwardly, slurping up his melted ice cream. Food was his greatest pleasure in life, Makoto liked to say. He seemed to talk about little else. Not that he was gourmand by any stretch of the imagination. His taste ran more towards junk food. Supposedly, many girls were jealous of his high metabolism. Then the bell rang. and the chatter began to fade as Yuji's home teacher
ほら
walked in.
朝礼だぞ
Morning assembly
Minna
time,
seki ni modore.
people. Back to your seats now. The last few stragglers scurried back to their desks. Having finished his ice cream, Makoto began to walk it off, but then suddenly he turned back.
ああそうだ
Oh yeah, wanna head together after school?
あ
Oh, sure.
あよし
Cool.
ほんじゃ
See you later. He smiled and returned to his desk, the ice cream stick still
Dangling from his mouth. Morning assembly began with a prayer. The students all stood up, clasped their hands at the waist, and sang along with the hand played over the PA system.
As he mumbled his way through the song, Yuji closed his eyes and wondered what the day held in store for him. I have no time to even be a YouTuber at this point because it's just reading the text after text after text after text. That's a visual novel. Who does visual novel playthroughs? I don't know. I haven't watched one. The bell rang, signaling at the end of morning classes and the start of lunch period. All at once, the classroom...
Lunch plans. Yuichi heaved a sigh of relief.
After being absent from school so long, his first I don't like reading text. What am I doing? I don't like reading text, but yet I sat down and got all comfortable and started recording a let's play of a visual novel. What did I expect to happen? He's eating an egg sub. He's gonna drink some drinks. He went to the door. He ran into someone. Stepping out of the way, he looked up and froze. An icy gaze pierced through him. This was someone Yuji took great plans to avoid. After so much time spent away, the impact of seeing him again was overwhelming. Shiramo Tetsuo. Somehow, the guy wasn't like other students. Yeah, he looks like he's 25. Tetsuo was tan, with light brown hair and eyes to match. Build-wise, he was on the larger side, and yet he wore his uniform neatly. But while his the problem was that Tetsuo didn't emote. His expression was a perpetual poker face, which made it impossible to tell what he's thinking. If I do anything, I have to turn down. It's like I need like the in-between of the autoplay speed. Thinking. It's possible to tell what he's thinking. It's like he had an invisible wall surrounding him. Nothing to get through, in, or out. Because of this, his mere presence was enough to instill Yuji with a vague undercurrent of anxiety. And if all that weren't enough, he had a third reason to feel tense around Tetsuo. It happened right after the start of the semester. He had been in math class one day when all of a sudden he felt like he was being watched. When he turned to look, he found Tetsuo staring at him, his elbows propped up on his desk. First, he didn't have thought much of it, but Tetsuo had kept staring. Every time he turned to look, their eyes had met. The more he tried to ignore, the more his discomfort had grown.
That day, he felt Tetsuo's eyes burning a hole in his head all the day until the last bell rang. Why had Tetsuo been staring at him? He didn't know. After that, it had been a while before he stopped seeing Tetsuo's disembodied eyeballs in his dreams. They never even said a word to each other, and yet as time passed, he felt Tetsuo's gaze on him again and again. It was creepy.
After locking eyes in the doorway, Tetsuo broke eye contact and walked away, seemingly disinterested. As he passed, a peculiar scent tickled Yuichi's nose. It didn't smell like any cologne he knew of, but it did evoke a strange sense of nostalgia. The scent faded as Tetsuo walked away. Finally, the tension drained from Yuji's body as he exhaled. Reflexively, he threw a glance over the shoulder and blinked. Tetsuo had taken a seat at the very desk where Yuji himself had mistakenly sat this morning. Ooh, Makoto was a lifesaver. Yuji had been sitting there when Tetsuo walked in. He quickly shook away the unpleasant image from his mind. He looked up at the clock. Still 30 minutes left in lunch period. Yuji left the classroom. Okay. So, we're being introduced to all these different key main characters. After school. Why does your school look abandoned? Following the afternoon assembly, school was officially over for the day. All at once, the classroom exploded with chatter and loud goodbyes. Yuichi's first day back at school had finally come to an end. Relieved, he began to pack up his things.
Yoji!
Yoji!
I'm going to slow it down again. Don't hate me, don't hate me, don't hate me. Don't click off the video.
Don't click off the video. Makoto walked over with a big grin on his face, his sports bag slung over his shoulder.
もう帰れる
Ready to go?
おう
Yeah.
じゃあ行こうぜ
Sweet. Let's jet. Once Yuji grabbed his book bag, Makoto spun around and headed for the door. Together, they left class room and made their way down the hall towards the shoe lockers. A number of students, both male and female, waved to Makoto as he passed. Makoto was popular throughout the grade, not just in his class. With a personality like his, Yuji imagined he could befriend just about anyone. As they were changing into their outdoor shoes, a group of guys walked past, called out to them.
おう誠
Hey,
お前さ、
Makoto. Listen,
また部に
dude, you should
戻ってこいよ。
rejoin the team.
うん
Yeah,
その
for
うちね
sure.
じゃあな
Soon. Probably. See ya. He waved them without so much as a glance. Then he walked over to Yuji.
さ行こうぜ
Come on, let's go. Walking past the Virgin Mary standing vigil over the lockers. Vigil? Deep at daylight? The two left the building and headed for the gates. Thank you, Tex, for waiting for me to finish that. Outside, the sunset caused its deep red glow over the campus and the departing students. Bathed in crimson light, Makoto turned to
どうだった
Yuji.
久々の学校は
So, how was it being back? Yuji reflected on the day's events. The longest necks I've ever seen. Dude, by the time you're finished eating, the first bite finally made it to your stomach. Plus, he wasn't quite used to the overall vibes of the class. I feel like everyone saw him as a weird older student who was almost never around.
少し
Kind of exhausting, actually.
まあそり
Yeah,
ゃ
I
そうだな
bet. Don't worry. You'll get used to it. And if you ever have any questions, you can ask me anytime.
すぐ聞いてくれていいしさ
Thanks. Makoto stretched his arms wide and looked up at the sky. Oh, man, I'm starving. Say, want to grab something to eat after school tomorrow?
帰りどっか
I'd
食い
say
に行くね
today,
今日
but
はこの後
I
ちょっ
kinda
と
have
約束があって
plans.
さ
ああ構わないけ
sure,
ど
I don't mind.
よっしゃ
Rock on! I better see you eating actual food tomorrow. Got it. We live in a world full of tasty treats, and when you starve yourself like that, it goes to waste. I mean it,
それは人によ
dude.
るんじゃないか
Not everyone lives to eat. Ah, come on, you're really missing out. Makoto made a slow pouting for a moment, then his lips curled into a mischievous grin.
部活やってた時なんかさ
You know, when I was still on the team, I always needed like 5 burgers minimum. Yuji thought back to the group of guys who had spoken to him, Makoto, at the lockers. Those must have been his former basketball teammates! Oh my god! I never could have put 2 and 2 together by myself. Makoto had been through the team last year, but he had quit in order to take more shifts at his job. At least, that was the story he told. He worked nearly every Saturday, and all the practice and games had taken up too much of his time. Apparently, he'd been a valuable player, and his leaving the team hadn't gone over well. They were still begging him to come back. Makoto had never explained how he wanted to work, why he wanted to work so much, but Yuji could only assume he wanted to maintain his food budget. Obviously, that's not the case. This is a visual novel. There has to be some mysterious, like a horse, calling that.
こんな話
Oh
をして
man,
腹が
all this talk just makes me hungrier. Wait, hold it! Makoto held his hand, stopping Yuichi in his tracks. Yuichi followed Makoto's gaze. A man was standing by the school gates. He was wearing a green shirt, sandals, a baseball cap, a flashy outfit, to be sure, but it felt somehow familiar. Yikes. All the rotten timing. That's the last dude I want to see today. Makoto scowled. It was Okinaga Zenya, a third-year student. He and Yuji had been in the same grade until Yuji's stay in the hospital. There wasn't a student at Komanami who didn't know Zenya's name. He was famous. It was easy to see why.
出られない
I can't get out. All of a sudden, there was a deafening clanging noise. Zenya had grabbed the bars at the gate with both hands and was now shaking it wildly.
出られない
I can't get out. He was acting like a child, screaming and hanging off the gate. Yeah, what is he doing? Makoto and Yuji can only stare in disbelief. Other students and passerby on the street were watching him with expressions of alarm. Yeah, I would too. But the weirdest part was this. The school gates were open. Zenya was screaming for no reason. this was how Xenia had become so famous, or rather, infamous. Not only was he so eccentric in the extreme, but there were nasty rumors about his family too. Everyone avoided him, even the teachers.
ああ、楽しかった。
Ah, that was fun.
After giving the gates a long, hard shake, Xenia hopped down and walked off campus. Yeah, banging on the bars of my enclosure. Beyond the gates, you could see a black car. A man was sitting next to it. When he saw Xenia, he opened the rear passenger door. Even from a distance, everything about his appearance screamed, Yakuza.
待った。
Or you waiting? Xenia tottered over the car and climbed to the back. Once he was in, the other man slid to the driver's seat.
お迎えの車とかさ。
He has a chauffeur to pick him up from school? Give me a break. There was a shade of annoyance in Makoto's tone as they watched the car drive away. Some of the other students nearby were exchanging puzzled looks. Yeah, he was just banging on the bars of his open enclosure. Although Yuji had never been in the same grade as Xenia, they'd never really spoken. On the rare days, Yuji had been healthy enough to attend school. Xenia had scarcely even ever shown up. And yet, he hadn't been held back. Perhaps the rumors about his family were true. Maybe he was getting special treatment. Do I need water? Ha, there went my good mood. Let's get out of here.
帰ろうぜ。
My water's too far away to get up. I mean, I have to get up to go get it. I don't want to. They walked off. His anxiety renewed by the encounter, Yuichi passed through the gates and hurried to the rain station. I kind of like this. You know, just I don't have to play anything. I'm just reading. I don't want to read anymore after I said that, actually. I'm going to close my eyes. My eyes are open. This is the icon for the game. Makoto had hopped up the previous... Oh my god. Hold on. If I have to pause one more time. Trains were clogged with students and headed home. Everything just loves to get messed up. Feeling slightly suffocated, Yuji shifted his gaze to the scenery beyond the windows. The early summer sky was streaked with red and navy blue. Fuzzy silhouettes of buildings dotted the horizon. In the window pane, his reflection was translucent and pale like a ghost. Music blared from his earbuds, drowning out reality. Memories of the day's events played and fast forward. The air conditioning was chilly on his bare arms. But just as a shiver ran up his spine... Something deep in his body began to throb. Oh my god, it's my penis! His heart raced, his breathing growing heavy. He squeezed his eyes shut and gritted his teeth, but a wave of dizziness washed over him. He stumbled and the earbuds fell from his ears. Instantly, ooh, Silent Hill, and so he could hear people whispering all around him. Do you think that guy's okay? He's totally erect. You all right there? It's peeking out. there were just as he thought he couldn't take it anymore, the PA announced their arrival at the next station. Slowly, the train rolled to a stop. The doors opened and Yuji staggered out onto the platform. He felt a little better just getting out of that small enclosed space. His nausea persisted, however, and after a long, deep breath, he headed for the turnstiles. How about you head to a bathroom? The night air brushed his skin as he left the station. It had cooled down considerably, but compared to that air-conditioned train, it was particularly warm. This was Obikicho, the section of Sagami Ward where Yuji lived. Conveniently, it was just a 10-minute train ride from school. 10 minutes? You might as well just walk. The area around the train station was a mixed old-fashioned shopping centers and various reconstruction projects. As Yuji traveled further away, however, houses and apartment complexes were growing up as something. After a 15-minute walk from the station, his destination came into view, a pale white 3-story apartment building. He climbed the stairs to the top floor and walked down the hall. Apartment 303. He stopped and pulled the key out of his pocket. The building was quiet. He may as well have been the only resident. Every sound he made as he unlocked the door seemed to echo in silence, silence, silence. Finally, he stepped inside and pulled the door shut behind him. All at once, the familiar serenity of his apartment enfolded him, soothing his anxiety. Kicking off his shoes, he headed down the hall. On his left are the doors to the toilet and the tub. On his right, the door to his room. At the end of the hall was the dining room, as well as some other rooms that were currently just glorified storage closets. Yuji walked into his room and tossed his book bag on the bed. All at once, his nausea came back stronger than ever. It's happening again. He bolted to the toilet. No. He hadn't eaten anything since breakfast, so all that came up was stomach acid. You sure? Eventually, after a few more waves of nausea, his stomach finally settled. The acid stung the back of his throat. Grimacing, Yuji went to the sink and gurgled some water from the faucet. Then he headed to the dining room. I want something scary to happen. Is this a scary game? Going back to the school must have made him more anxious than he realized. No, bruv. I think you're just sick. Just when he'd gotten out of the hospital, too, his lack of stamina was frankly depressing. I guess. He decided to take his temperature just in case. The thermometer read 36.8 Celsius. I don't know that. To the average person, that would be no big deal. To Yuji, it was the equivalent of a fever. Ever since he could remember, his normal temperature had been always slightly lower than most people's, usually around 35 degrees. As such, a temperature that most people would dismiss as a slight fever was enough to make Yuji dizzy. Is it Yuji? Yichi? I don't know. I was thinking of Yoichi. Returning to his room, he could hear a faint mechanical whirring, not unlike the buzz of a bee. Buzz. The room was largely empty. Buzz. Save for a bed, TV, love seat, coffee table, and a small shelf. Buzz. In fact, the only thing that's just an active occupant was the source of the noise. Buzz. The aquarium just behind the sofa. Buzz. It wasn't particularly large or fancy, but it was the one feature of interest in an otherwise drab room. I do agree. A fluorescent strip light served as the hood of the aquarium, illuminating the water and setting patches of light dancing along the walls and the floor. A shoal of 10 iridescent neon tetras darted in and out through seaweed. There was no seaweed in there. It's all rocks. Walking over the shimmering light patterns on the floor, Yuji approached the tank. Buzz. Finally, he could breathe again. Thankfully, I can breathe again now. This same thought crossed his mind every time he came home. Be it at school or on the train, he just simply didn't enjoy being around people for any length of time. Their voices, their scents. He didn't dislike people per se, but being around them had always made his chest feel tight. He had been in and out of hospital so many times by this point, it was possible he simply wasn't used to people. He sighed and opened the cupboard. Took out the canister of fish food. This two-bedroom apartment was far too large for one person. There's someone else living here. His sister, Erica, older by 3 years, had recently moved out after getting married. She and her husband were expecting their first child any day now. Yuji and his sister had lost their parents in an accident when they were young. Even now, Erica continued to pay for half of his... I thought they just said it was his sister. Out here, away from downtown Tokyo, the rent was actually affordable, but the cost to attend a private missionary school like Kaminami was nothing to seize at. The only reason he enrolled there was because Erica had recommended it so strongly. As a Kaminami alumnus and a devout Christian, it had meant a great deal to her that he followed her in her footsteps. She even offered to pay his expenses. He tried to decline, but in the end, his protest had been no match for her insistence. She claimed it was her responsibility as his guardian, but Yuji was determined to take the burden off her shoulders as soon as possible. He didn't want to get in the way of her happy marriage. He didn't have much time, much in the way of possessions, so when she moved out, it felt like she'd taken the whole house with her. He still felt empty. Empty. Like there was a hole in his stomach, heart, where his sister had been. There had been times her constant concern had frustrated him, but looking back, he found he missed it. After being together for so long, he started to take her for granted. But now he knew the meaning of the phrase,
You never know what you have until it's gone.
the aquarium was the one thing in this empty apartment that I'd gotten out of his way to obtain.
He liked tropical fish.
He liked the whole tropical aesthetic, tank water and all, fruitical arrow. Perched on the sofa, he sprinkled granules of fish food over the water's surface. The damp shell tickled his nose, and the water reflected the light onto his cheek. The fish warmed the food, the scales glistening brightly. He could feel the primal hunger in those tiny bodies. To most animals, survival was the only thing that mattered. They weren't always swayed by thought or emotion. For some reason, every time he watched the fish devour their food, Yuichi felt he could relate. With the feeding taken care of, he stood from the sofa. But just as he was about to change out of his uniform, he heard some buzzing. Inside his book bag, his phone was ringing. He could count on one hand the number of people who might call him. Makoto. Pulling his phone out of the bag, he glanced down at the display. The phone continued to vibrate and flash up at him. After a deep breath, he tapped the button to answer. You're not going to see who it is first? On the other end, he heard someone exhale lightly. Hello? Yokun? Hey, sis.
姉さん
Smooth voice, rich as milk, broke the silence.
Instantly, he felt his whole body relax. It was always reassuring to hear her voice, especially right as we were thinking about her. She was his last living relation. Ever since their parents had died, they supported each other through thick and thin. To Yuji, she was irreplaceable. Typically, he never the one to call her. He didn't want to interrupt her new life, but talking to her afforded him peace of mind in a way that little else could. Are you busy? No. Okay. How are you? Are you making sure to eat?
食べてるよ
Yeah, I'm eating. Smile crept onto his lips as
He answered. Then he heard her sigh in relief and knew she must have been smiling too.
good. How's your health? You went back to school today, right?
うん
Uh-huh.
今
I
日
just
行
got
ってき
home.
た
Everything was
大丈夫だったよ
fine. Yeah? I'm glad to hear that.
ずいぶん休んでたから
I mean, I need to catch up after being gone for so
全部が全部うまくい
long,
くってこ
but
とはないけど
I'm sure I'll get it under
すぐ
control.
になれるよ
I know you had a rough time in the hospital last year. Are you doing alright on your own?
ああ
Yeah. Well, you can move in with us anytime, okay? Her tone was tinged with worry, but Yuji laughed it off. I'm fine. I'm not a kid, you know. Geez, you're such a mama. You're a mama.
それより
Speaking of, how are you holding up? You're almost
もう
due,
一度
right?
生まれるの
Yep, the baby's gotten so big and feisty too. Sometimes all the kicking wakes me up at night. I don't know if that's normal. Never been pregnant, but I've never heard of
それは
that.
すごいな
What a little
男の子だ
rascal.
ったよね
He's a boy, right? Yeah. We've been trying to think of a name for him, but we haven't settled on anything yet. Even over the phone, he could tell how excited she was. It warmed his heart. She was happy, and he couldn't ask for anything more. You better come see him once he's born, or sooner. Just come check on your sister sometime, okay?
分かったよ
Okay, I will.
今度行くから
And you better not be all skin and bones, got it?
ないよ
I'm not.
ない
Really?
って
Really? He chuckled to himself, and she giggled playfully. Well, I better go. If you need me, feel free to call anytime. Okay,
いつでも電話してね。
あ
I
あ
will.
分かってる
Thanks.
それじゃ、お
Okay.
やすみなさい。
Good
おや
night.
すみ
Night. Just like that, the call ended. He was dropped back into reality. His gaze wandered around the room for a moment. It was sweet of Erica to offer to let him move in with them. He felt grateful and guilty at the same time. She and her husband were still paying off his medical bills from last year. After getting help back in school, he couldn't possibly burden them any more than they already had. Am I too close? This is too loud? In particular, he knew that he needed to be extra careful about his health. He knew that he probably ought to go to the hospital, but that would cost money. As a student, his only income was part-time wages. Even if he wanted to go, realistically, the hospital wasn't an option. He would just have to take every precaution. Erica would never admit it, but he was sure that money was tight, and yet she always put his needs first. He refused to be a burden on her any more than he already was. She was his only family, and he wanted her to be happy. He set his phone on the coffee table and changed out of his uniform. Meanwhile, he contemplated dinner. There was that to-go meal in the fridge. It was past its expiration date, so his boss at the convenience store had insisted he take it home with him. He considered eating it, but realized that he wasn't particularly hungry. He'd take it to school for lunch tomorrow instead. With that out of the way, Yuji's next move was to do a bit of studying before bed. After skimming through his textbooks and old notes for a while, he lay down on his bed. A sigh escaped his lips. He must have been way more tense than he'd realized. The moment he lay down, it felt as though his body had fused with the mattress. Today has been an eventful day, especially in comparison to the months of hospital visits and recovery. And yet, despite his exhaustion, he couldn't seem to fall asleep. Perhaps he was simply too wound up. Still, he dutifully closed his eyes. Inside the bubble of darkness, there was only the endless hum of the aquarium. And then he fell asleep, I'm guessing. Morning. In the end, Yuji didn't get much sleep that night. Before he knew it, light was pouring in through the window. Unsurprisingly, he was still exhausted. His body felt as though like lead as he left the apartment. He wasn't in the ideal condition to attend a second day of school, but nor did he really have a choice. When he arrived at the train station, the platform was full of the students and morning rush commuters. The intercom announced the arrival of the train, and when it came to a stop, Yuji stepped aboard. Or rather, was herded aboard by the crowd. Moments later, the train departed, now clearly over capacity. Seems like it's pretty empty to me. Once again, like yesterday, Yuji found himself frankly appalled by the number of passengers. They were packed like little sardines, to the point that he could smell all kinds of different air products and perfumes mixing together. To make matters worse, their combined body heat had turned the inside of the car into the sauna. Anxiety coiled in his chest like a snake. Try as he might to endure it, his vision was fading rapidly. A cold sweat broke out and over his entire body. On top of all that, he suddenly felt like he was losing his balance. As his temperature plummeted, he began to lose feeling in his extremities. He could barely tell whether his eyes were open or closed. The next thing he knew, his legs gave out. Just then, the train hit a sharp curve, shaking the car and sending him reeling backwards. All of a sudden, someone grabbed his arm and yanked him up. The momentum brought him back to his feet. Dude, how many voice boxes are just going to be ... His legs were too weak to support his own weight, but someone was holding him steady. My legs are falling asleep somehow. He was practically leaning against them, but as he felt, he couldn't thank them or apologize. The words wouldn't come. But it was shaking, but saying all the time, I don't know. But the stranger seemed to understand, because they held firm to Yuji without a complaint. After a few shallow breaths, he closed his eyes. He could feel faintly the other person's heartbeat pulsing against his body. As he focused on its steady rhythm, he felt himself begin to calm down. It was strange. The train was still as miserable as ever, but his anxiety was actually starting to fade. The heartbeat pulsing behind his eyelids, the fingers sticking firmly into his arm. He could almost delude himself into thinking the stranger was being affectionate. Gradually, the chaos of reality began to fade, leaving only gentle darkness behind. He felt like he was wrapped up in a big blanket, drifting off, though to where he could not say. He felt at peace. Just then the intercom came on, pulling him back from the brink of unconsciousness. The train slowed to a stop. The doors opened and disgorged a flood of passengers. His head still spinning, Yuji let the crowd herd him onto the platform. His legs moved into autopilot until reality set back in. Whoever it was that held him up on the train, they were lost in the crowd now. He found himself a little disappointed. He meant to thank them. As he moved with the crowd, he thought back on what had just happened. Fortunately, in his current state, his memories were all a blur. Maybe he'd simply imagined the whole thing. All he could remember, for sure, was a pulse. Warm, steady beat. Replayed in his mind, overlapping with his own. Why had he found it so soothing? Clinging to that faint trace of warmth, Yuji passed through the turnstiles and headed to the academy. By the time he arrived at school, Yuji was feeling a lot better, save for the slight sluggishness of sleep deprivation. His morning classes ended without incident, and then the lunch bell rang. Kamiya, his homeroom teacher, had asked him to stop by the staff office, so Yuji just did that. There, he was given a brief rundown of everything he had missed while he was out sick. Mostly, it talked about what they had been covered in class, as well as the major school events that had taken place. The meeting ended with some words of encouragement. Kamiya was the school's chemistry teacher, a kind and caring man. Once the conversation had come to an end, Yuji thanked him and left the office. Lunch break wasn't quite over yet, so we decided to cut through the courtyard and head for the school store. The store was located in the old school building, which was connected to the main building via hallways on each floor. Cutting through the courtyard was faster, of course. Due to its age, the old building was now only used for the school store, the chemistry lab, the sewing studio, and a few club rooms. Seems like it's a lot. Stepping onto the red brick walkway, he took a deep breath, savoring the fresh air. The courtyard was located between the two buildings with an abundance of well-maintained greenery, as well as several benches. It was a popular lunch spot, and today was no exception. Some girls were occupying their usual bench under the shade of the trees, their cheerful voices bouncing off the walls. Just as he was about to enter the old building, Yuji nearly bumped into someone on their way out. Is it Makoto? Whoa. Sorry.
すみません
Right as the apology left his lips, he heard a slurping sound and looked up. It's Makoto with his ice cream. Ugh! It was Okinaga Zenya. He was wearing a bright green shirt and baseball cap. Either as part of the school-managed uniform, the shirt alone should have been enough to get him sent home for the day. Do I do the gay voice again? If he could flout the rules this egregiously and get away with it, then there was no doubt he was getting special treatment. Supposedly, his father was a Yakuza and former boss at that. There were all kinds of rumors floating around about him. Some said he was 2 meters tall. If you got on his bad side, he would make you disappear. Obviously, the rumors were exaggerated, but still, the fact that the school had chosen to turn a blind eye to Zenya's behavior. He was holding a can up to his mouth with one hand. Yeah. His long blonde hair fell past his shoulders. He wore sandals and an eye patch over his right eye. And of course, there was that garnished green shirt. A pungent odor strung Yuji's nostrils. It went with cologne. It smelled like alcohol. Was Zenya drinking in the middle of the day? Regardless, Yuji had no way of knowing what might set Senya off, so he decided to leave before things got
来
worse.
ない
I can't get it.
来ない
I can't get it. I have to make another choice. Okay, so I chose blue last time. So let's choose red. Get what? Yuji turned back. Oh, I have to press A again. Okay, well, saving was a good idea. Yuji turned back.
来ないよ
I just can't get it. Zenya was shaking the can upside down over his mouth.
あ
But nothing came out. Clearly the can was empty. Couldn't he see that? But just as Yuji was about to walk away, Zenya grabbed his arm. The blonde man pulled him close, grinning widely. What?
なんだよ。
あのさ
Hey, you're the kid who passed out on the first day, aren't you?
授業
You were all like,
ってさ
bam! It was so loud.
あん時さ
Did it, like,
痛そうだったよ
hurt?
ね
Because it looked like it
あんま
hurt.
ってなかった
Didn't your face hit the floor, your nose, your forehead?
あ
Oh yeah. So anyway, speaking of pain, I
で
just
来なくてさ
can't get it out. Without pausing to gauge Yuji's reactions, Zenya kept talking.
缶の底にひっついた
See, there's like some little lumps stuck on the bottom there. The label on the can read, with real coconut gel. For a moment, Zenya's pale fingers remembered the coils of a snake wrapped around its prey.
でね
So, I kinda need a favor. Yuji tried to wrench his arm free, but it was like Zenya's hand was glued to his skin.
お願いが
I said, I need a favor. He repeated his words in the same vapid tone, and Yuji turned to look at him. He was grinning from ear to ear, but the light in his eye was cold.
持ってないかな
Don't suppose you got any? Zenya lowered the can from his mouth and stuck out his tongue. Ew. Zenya mouth to see his red. His tongue was wet with saliva and blood. Usually could barely make out a dozen tiny cuts. Is this
頑張
the
ったんだけど
creepiness?
ね
I gave him my best shot, but I just can't get down there. All I taste is metal now. Licking his tongue in and out, Zenya quaffed and shrugged his shoulders. Ew, gross. Yuji could only stare as he struggled to process what he was seeing.
だからさね
So, you got any? Come on. After a beat, Zenya opened his mouth cartoonishly wide.
絆創膏
Give me a band-aid, please. There's no point wasting another second here. That was really gross. Yuji summoned all of his strength and yanked his arm away, this time successfully. Zenya simply lifted the can back to his lips, his eyes on Yuichi. Was he going to wriggle his tongue around in there again? That's gross. Oh, that actually sent shivers down my spine. The image made him skin crawl. Yeah, mine too. Like, that was pretty gross. As he oh, that was so gross. They can't get that image out of my head. Or a sound. It was airy and stiff, like teeth clacking together. He didn't know what he could making of the sound. He had no intention of finding out. Instead, he walked straight into the old school building. As he passed the rows of unused shoe lockers, he heaved a sigh of relief. He never expected Zenya to mess with him like that. Yeah. Never in a million years I thought someone would do that. Why are you showing me again? Yeah, I don't want to burn to my brain too. I'm covering the screen. Bile rose in the back of his throat. Get it off! You need to just forget it. The guy wasn't normal. Shaking the memory from his head, Yuji heads to the store. Yeah, I totally forgot this. School's over for the day. I think I'm gonna play till 9:30, and it is currently 10:12. So let's do. Yoji, let's go home. Let's do 10 more minutes.
今日の約束忘れて
You
ない
didn't forget about our plans, did ya? We agreed to go get food, remember? Yeah,
忘れてないよ
I remember.
じゃあ早く行こうぜ
Well, let's get going! Makoto grinned, practically bouncing on his heels. As Yuji set about packing away his textbooks and pencils, Makoto gave him a puzzled look.
あれ
Wait,
教科書とかいちいち
you
持って
take
帰
all
って
your
んの
textbooks home with
持っ
you?
て帰ってるよ
Of
な
course.
んで
What for?
予習と復習する
So
か
I
ら
can review the coursework and study ahead.
予習と
You
復習
actually study? What are you, the perfect student? I have never studied in my life. His eyes widened in mock disbelief.
休んでたから
Well, I'm sick a lot.
ああ
Oh, right. I gotcha. Still, that's crazy. Man, I should take a leaf out of your book. I'm not going to. But I should. Kato shrugged his shoulders. Then an instant later, his playful smile darkened. He was looking over Yuji's shoulder.
崎山
Sakiyama. At the sound of the name, Yuji turned and frowned when he saw who was standing there. Tetsuo. He stiffened beneath Tetsuo's stare.
当番なんだけどお前
You know you're on duty, right? Tetsuo's voice was deep and gruff and Yuji's, so it doesn't sound like, you know you're on duty, right? His voice had always been like that. It was a tense moment, but all Yuji felt was a surprise. He felt like he was hearing Tetsuo's voice for the first time, even though that couldn't be true.
当番 掃除
Duty?
当番
Cleaning
Kyoga.
duty, as of yesterday. Then it finally hit him, and he remembered that he was on cleaning duty this week. After being out sick for so long, he'd forgotten so many of the little details of school life that most students took for granted. And now he'd inadvertently neglected his duties. Guilt washed over him, and he cursed himself for not being more careful. He knew it wasn't his fault, he'd been sick, but every time something like this happened, it only served to widen the gap between him and everyone else. So why had Tetsuo gone to the trouble of reminding him? After a moment, he thought, it dawned on him. Cleaning duties were always assigned in alphabetical order. Sakiyama Yuji, Shurimo, Tetsuo. They were on cleaning duty.
Together. Oh my goodness,
Oh,
it's a
so-ka.
date.
4時
Oh, right. Forgot you were on duty this week.
あんじゃ俺
Well,
適当に
guess
待ってる
I'll
わ
wait around somewhere. His shipper mood suddenly gone, Makoto turned and stalked out of the classroom. Yuji was left standing with Tetsuo. The situation was exceedingly awkward.
お前は
We're on trash duty. In another word, Tetsuo headed to the garbage bins in the corner of the classroom. Reluctantly, Yuji followed after him. The other students on cleaning duty were dusting and mopping with looks on their face that said they'd rather be doing literally anything else. Some of them had given up entirely and were now chatting instead. Tetsuo stopped in front of the bins, then leaned forward slightly to scan their contents. Their trash was sorted into two categories, burnables and non-burnables. Trash duty involved sifting through the garbage to ensure everything was sorted correctly. Supposedly, the school had received complaints from the city for not keeping its trash separated ever since they've been cracking down. It was the end of the day, and the cans were nearly overflowing. Tetsuo was checking the non-burnables, so Yuji started on the burnables bin. For the most part, everything seemed to be sorted correctly, save for the occasional plastic bag that had to untie and check. The only sound between them was that of rustling plastic. They had nothing to say to each other. Meanwhile, cheerful voices trickled into the room through open doors and windows. Oh Jesus, he is tall. Who did this? Out of nowhere, Tetsuo's loud growl broke the silence. Yuji looked up to find him holding a plastic bag in one hand. Inside was a half-eaten to-go meal. The moment he realized who it belonged to, he found himself wishing he could sink through the floor. Yeah, that would be probably like one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. It was his. He brought the to-go meal for lunch, but he tossed it after only a few bites. He'd not been paying attention to which bin he was using. He turned away. Beside him, he heard a thud. Tetsuo tossed the to-go meal back into the trash. Flooded with fresh guilt, Yuji went back to work. Once they had finished looking through the garbage, they pulled out of the trash bags and tied them up. Their last task was to take 2 bags out of the dumpsters behind the gym. Yuji had just finished up tying up the burnable garbage when suddenly he felt something cold touch the back of his neck. We're going red again. But then next time I'm going to do blue. I have to like swivel my chair because I'm like sitting so comfortably. Oh, my mouse was closer than I thought. Boom, boom. Is there a secret third option? No. At the same time, he smelled something faintly sweet. Oh my god, I have to go back up. Felt something faintly sweet. He turned to find Tetsuo's hand inches from his head. Did Tetsuo just touch him? He glared at the other man suspiciously.
何よ
What are you doing?
別に
Nothing. Tetsuo replied brusquely, promptly retracting his hand and stuffing it inside the pocket of his slacks. What just happened? Yuji wanted answers, but Tetsuo was as unreadable as ever. Felt as though an impenetrable force field was pushing him away. Was Tetsuo trying to mess with his head? Unsure of how to feel, Yuji turned away, grabbed his garbage bag, and headed out to the classroom.
ヨジ待てよ
Wait up, Yuji! At the sound of his name, Yuji looked back to find Makoto standing with a group of students near the door. As they made eye contact, Makoto walked up to him.
あとはそれ捨てて終
You're
わりだろ
done after you take the trash out, right? I'll come with. As he spoke, Makoto shot a glance at Tetsuo's direction. He was busy tying up the non-burnable garbage.
ヨジ大丈夫か
You okay, man? What do you mean?
いや
Never mind. Makoto quickly put on his usual cheery smile.
さ行こうぜ
Come on, let's get going. Hold on, I was reading for too long, and now I need to take a break. I break. Full break? And now. Okay, hold on.
いるよりもだいぶ
Okay,
涼し
we're
い
saving. Okay, so this game has been interesting so far. I've been playing for like an hour. I don't know if I'm gonna do this as one part or I'm gonna combine all the parts. But for right now, I'm definitely done. So I'm just gonna end this just in case this is like one full part. Then I upload the next part. Thank you so much for watching. I mean, I still have no idea what this game is about. I have no idea what the decisions are I'm making between red and blue. That tongue scene was absolutely one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And I love doing all the fun, crazy voices, even though most of the time they aren't good or pleasant to hear on the ears. So if you want to see me play the full game, I'll try my best. We'll keep on going. We'll keep on trucking. Yeah. Sweet pool. What's that sweet pool? I guess we're going to find out soon. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what your favorite sweet pool is. Sweet pool memories. Tell me what thing you like. Color. What's your favorite color? Okay, subscribe, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.